Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Business Inside Out podcast with me as your host, Dr. Daniel Kimbley. And today, what I wanted to talk to you about is something that I think will radically transform and uplift your practice, at least from a client experience or interaction perspective. And so what I wanted to talk about today and what I've been thinking a lot about is how a lot of practices are very, very, very intentional about getting new people to come into their business. And you guys have heard me talk about this before, so it's not like it's this brand new concept, but the idea is that a lot of times there are people who are business owners who are so one-track minded of like, we need new patients, we need new patients, we need new patients, we need new patients, we need new patients. And every single week, every single month, every single quarter, it's just how many new patients do we have? How many new patients can we get and bring into the office? And so my opinion of that is I don't think there's anything wrong with it. You definitely have to have new leads coming into your business, but there's a point at which you have to stop just chasing the new and start to look at the systems that you have in place inside of your office. And those systems in place inside of your office should specifically be bringing you people who are sticking with you for longer. And the question is like, well, how do I measure that? And the easiest way to measure that is something called PVA, which a lot of you know is patient visit average. It's how many times someone has been into or stepped into your office and received care from you. Now, a higher PVA, in my opinion, is a good thing. So ultimately, what you want and what you want to look for is, if you're not familiar with PVA, is literally just looking at like, how many times is someone who signs up for care with you, how many times are they coming and seeing you? And so after you figure out PVA, if your PVA is lower, I wanted to give you some tips, some very practical tips on how you could start to increase your PVA. And I think what it comes down to is like big picture, if we just zoom out 20,000 feet for just a second, the idea of like, you have to care more about the people who are already inside of your business than you do the new people who are coming into your business. Now, I'm not saying we don't focus on new people, but what I'm saying is that oftentimes what I see and the clients that I have worked with specifically with coaching, and then other business owners, other places, is that we're so focused on new acquisition that we forget about the people who are with us. And ultimately what this comes down to is you being able to care an awful lot about your business, about your experience, and about, more importantly, most importantly, are the people inside of your business. Because if you do not care about the people who you serve, because you're constantly focusing on bringing in people who you have not yet served, it will become abundantly clear that you are only focused on getting new acquisition and new patients and new clients and new leads into your office. And what it does is it actually puts you at a disadvantage. It puts you at a disadvantage to increase your PVA, which is ultimately going to make you more money with less amount of work. It's ultimately going to leave you more frustrated. It's ultimately going to leave you with having to do more work on the front end, with literally being at screenings and being at events and doing health talks and doing workshops and all the things. And I'm not saying that those things are wrong, but there are so many practices that I know where people are like, well, I don't really want to do this stuff, but I feel like I have to do it. And so I'm going to encourage you to just think about this concept of like really, truly caring about the people that you are currently serving inside of your practice. Now, the question then becomes is like, okay, well, I already do care. Like, I give great adjustments. I believe in chiropractic care. I care about them. I treat them like family. And my question for you would be, do you? Like, do you really? And, you know, it could come down to experience inside of the office. So think about, like, I've been in practices where I go in and the trash cans are like overflowing because they haven't been taken out in 3 days. Or like in the bathrooms and the bathroom's not clean, or maybe chairs aren't wiped down, or tables are dirty, or there's dirt on the floor. Like, all of these things come up that, in my opinion, show how much you care about your clients, about the patients that are inside of your practice, who are already inside of your practice, who already signed up with you, who already told you yes, who are already paying you money. It's like, how much do you care? Like, what is your experience? What does the environment that they're in say about how much you care? The same thing is like these things that are so seemingly simple, like taking out the trash and making sure your office is clean and some of these things. And this is like really nitty-gritty detail, but even the music. Like, so many offices that I know, so many business owners that I know, they're playing the same two playlists over and over and over and over and over again, week after week after month. And like, the same people come in and it's the same thing every time. Or the doctor's wearing the same outfit every single day. And it, like, not that there's anything wrong with any of that, but it's literally this idea of like, if you are looking to be the best, and create the best experience for your patients possible, you have to care about every single detail of what it is that you do and how you bring people into your office, how they go through your journey with you. And because when you care about those things, it becomes obvious. Every time people come into our office, one of the things they say is they're like, dude, the music is always so on point. How is that possible? It's because we continually change it and refine it, and I'm constantly looking and listening for new things to be able to play for our patients. Why? It has nothing to do with getting adjusted, but they have an experience. There's this level of intentionality behind simply the music that we play, simply the lighting that we have, simply the fact that we look at, are there scuffs and dirt marks on the wall that we can magic eraser off to just make it that much cleaner. And no one ever may consciously notice, but they step into a place every single time that is consistent and that it is completely curated with care. And so caring about your people so much. The other thing that comes up in this is like when you really, really care about your patients, so this is a little bit less tactical and like nitty-gritty detail. It's like create an experience for your office when they show up inside of your place. Like, what's that feel like, right? Are the trash cans overflowing? Is the trash taken out? Is the trash taken out between shifts? There are all these things that you can do, but another thing that you can do is literally start to think about like, who is it that you serve? And how much do you care about the person that you're actually serving? And so what I mean by this is so many offices that I know, like they don't even know who their ideal client is, or they think they know who their ideal client is, and then they're communicating in a completely different way. And when they communicate in a different way, it confuses the person who they want to bring into the office, and then they're not bringing the person they want to bring into the office, and then it's confusing, and the doctor's frustrated because they're seeing a bunch of people that they don't really want to see in the first place. And there can be all these frustrations around practicing, and it doesn't have to be this way, because when you start to care at the deepest level possible, what will happen is you will be able to clearly identify, this is my ideal patient inside of my business. And when you can do that, what will happen is not only will you start to understand demographically who they are, what's their age, what do they do for work, what's their income bracket level, what are their political affiliations, like those kind of things matter, and you understanding your patients at the deepest level possible. And stuff is not manipulative. It's literally like understanding your demographics just shows that you care. You care to serve a certain group of people. And the reality is that if you just want to serve everybody with a spine, you will forever be frustrated seeing the wrong people and not providing a great experience for the people that you do take care of. And I'm not talking about adjusting. Like the adjustment is such a small part. It's the most important part, but it's a small part of what actually creates somebody who's going to be with you for a lifetime, to be with you for the long term. And it comes down to, when you want to create a practice full of lifetime patients, it literally has to do with you caring more than anybody else. You caring more than any other doctor's ever cared. You caring more than any other healthcare provider. I don't care if it's a dentist, I don't care if it's a PT, I don't care if it's a massage therapist, I don't care if it's an MD. When you show that you care more, through the things that you do inside of your business, people will notice and they will line up and they will stand behind you for it. What do I mean by this? Yes, understanding demographics matters. Understanding your ideal patient matters. But what matters more is actually understanding the way that your ideal patients think. Why does it matter? Because it shows that you have a level of intentionality and care to the way that someone's brain works. And when you can speak to them more efficiently, when you understand their pains, when you understand their struggles, when you understand their dreams, when you understand their thought processes, when you understand what excites them and what disgusts them, and you can clearly communicate that to them, what people will see is that, oh my gosh, this doctor understands me. And they understand me at a deep level. And when you allow someone to feel that connection, to feel that sense of understanding, you are going to set yourself apart from anybody else in any healthcare profession. It doesn't matter what it is, and people will start to look to you for answers because you're building trust, you're building connection, you're building authority. And the way that you do that is literally by understanding your patient better. And so the whole point of this podcast episode is to talk about caring. Like, you have to care more than anybody else, because I can assure you that the medical doctor does not care how your patients think. They don't care. They just literally know that they're going to come in, I'm going to write this prescription for a medication, and we're going to send them on their way. The dentist doesn't care how your patients think. You should care, because you can start to communicate them, you can start to connect with them, you can start to bridge gaps between things that they were thinking or maybe not thinking, or things that they were taught that aren't necessarily true. And we have this whole wealth of knowledge as chiropractors that's so different and so much more powerful than what most people get exposed to. And like, because people think that chiropractors are one track, like all they do is pop and crack and they don't know anything else and they're second-rate doctors and they're quacks, is like, if you can't set yourself apart and show someone how much you actually care, you're doing a huge disservice. And this is where I think it gets really, really important, is to remember that if you're constantly just chasing new people, how much do you think that you can focus on understanding the people who are coming to you? Unless you are just expertly crafted and dialed in like a sniper on knowing what are my demographics of my ideal patient, what are my psychographics of my ideal patient, and then being able to only attract those people and really focusing on that new acquisition with those things in mind, then it's going to come off as you caring less. And this is what I'm talking about, is like, these details matter. They matter. They matter for your business. They matter for your patients. The coolest part about all this is like, the reason that we care so much as chiropractors is because we have something, we have a solution, we have an answer that nobody else can get anywhere else. And when we give them this solution and this answer, when they feel like, oh my gosh, this person actually understands me, they're speaking a language that I speak and understand, you become the only answer to all of their problems. And it starts with caring, to being so intentional, to understanding every single detail of how your business runs, all the systems, all the processes, what's your patient's journey, how do they experience it when they come into your office, what are they thinking, what are their political affiliations, yes, their demographics, but also the psychographics, the way they think, their psychology, the words that they use, the places that they hang out, the clothes that they wear. Like, when you understand this stuff at such a deep level and you start to really, truly care about each person that comes inside of your office, what you will see is an explosion of not only new patients who are the perfect person that you actually want to see, but you will also see referrals, you will also see retention rise, and ultimately that will lead to more income. More income leads you to a place where you get to have more fun with your family on the weekends, where you get to spend time enjoying the things that you love to do. And ultimately what this and I am all about in the Nexus Method is literally allowing people to express themselves at 100%. Like, yes, 100% expression for the people that we take care of inside of our office, for the adjustments, but also people at 100% in expression. Chiropractors, that's why it's called the Business Inside Out podcast, because so many times I see chiropractors who are addressing their businesses externally, but preaching the word of inside out healing with their patients. And unless you address your business from the inside out, you'll never get to the place where you want to get to. You'll never experience that level of freedom. You'll never experience that level of longevity in business and excitement and fulfillment and all the things that chiropractic gives people. You have to address your business the exact same way, from the inside out. And when you start to do it from the inside out, the number one thing that you can start doing is coming from your heart and start caring about the experience, the patient journey. What's the adjustment feel like? What's the music and the vibe look like? How well do you understand your people? And when you start to do these things, your practice, I guaranteed, will change. My friends, that's all I have for you on this episode of the podcast. If you got some value out of it, do me one of two things. One, leave a rating for this podcast. And two, go follow me personally on Instagram, where there will be reels. I'll have a lot of other content coming soon. There's also a 5-part training series that you can sign up for if you're interested in learning more on exactly how I identify my ideal clients inside of my practice. I would love to share that with you. It's on a link tree in my Instagram at Dr. Daniel Kimbley. I love you. I appreciate you. And we'll come at you with another episode again next week.